All right, another day on the Zephyr. Got that radiator installed yesterday, and was thinking about pulling the engine today, but I thought, shoot, there's still more work to be done with the shrouds to get the air going in the radiator and then out through the fender wells. So I think we're going to work on that. The mechanical stuff, it's got to get done, but this has got to get done also. So instead of swapping the engine, transmission, then building this, we're going to do it all right now. Here we go. All right, got my camera on a stick. Yesterday, I got that radiator set in place. That thing is mounted. So today, we're going to attempt, I don't mean to overstep my skill set, going to attempt to shroud this. And then in here, we're going to shroud from where the radiator grill, from where the grill is here, all the way to that. Because there's the opportunity for air to move around the radiator. We don't want that to happen. We want a nice tunnel from here straight through there. That's where we're at. Shop is pretty cramped, but all that's going to change. Zephyr's going to go to the house eventually over the winter. Then the shop's going to get really cramped. That's what's going to change. The little Jewel is coming in. Today's Saturday. I'm hoping to get over there this week and start to prep. So that's the plan, to get this engine compartment at least sprayed, primer nice, engine and transmission in place so we can lift this up and bring it back to the house. This shroud here is going to be low. It's going to be just inside this framework here, not on top like I'm placing this, but I want to trace this. So I'm going to set this right about in line with the back of that radiator, or rather the front. The back is here. I'm standing in front of the car. Yeah, we get a marker. So looking at it again, yeah, I think right there looks cool. And actually I'm seeing that screw there. Yeah, that's it. We'll just line it up on these two screws, mounting that stainless steel, and go in with a marker. There's a couple things in the way that I see, but we're gonna have to deal with that also. Let's see what we got. Close enough for me. I'm gonna try to keep this marker on me since somebody is nice enough to give me this holster. Try not to lose it. All right, so there's a few things that could complicate this, but it might go easy. Let's just trace and cut this shape. I'm thinking we're going to use 18 gauge sheet metal. This is going to turn down to the radiator, but then we have to turn up to the inside of the hood flanges. So let's see how that works out. See, this is where I'm going with this piece. You got this turning down, and that's a great spot to mount something to, even though that's a little bit wrinkled. Yeah, that's perfect fit. So this is not going to sit here. It's going to sit down here like that. And then this is going to need to rise up. Hopefully this is even side to side. So we got 3.5 roughly to the, yeah, so it's 3.5 on both sides. So say 3 3/8 down, because we don't want it to touch that. Yeah, that looks decent. You know, for just for cleanliness sake, I might bring those flanges up on the inside of this. Nah, that'll be really hard to put in. Yeah, it's just going to slip in like that. Then we'll see that. All right, so anyway, we have 3 3/8. And we're going to need 2 pieces, roughly 1 foot long each. Let me get some steel and bring it over to this table. All right, so I'm going to just make this out of 1 piece. Saying 3 3/8 by roughly 2 feet. So I'll just make it about 26, 28 inches. We got 3 3/8. After you've been away on a vacation for quite some time, it takes a little bit to get back in the game. Definitely not feeling my most fluid self. So that's 3 3/8 coming down, but then this is going to turn onto the flat plate. So let's just say a 1/2 inch I'm not even gonna measure it, just gonna eyeball it right here. That looks good. And we said roughly, just make it 28. Holster, whoosh. Beverly shear. I used to have this big spot welding machine, and it would come in perfect for this specific application, but I don't have it anymore because I mentioned this is going to turn, down and in and lay on top of that sheet. And the spot welder I had these two big copper electrodes. You would just burn it together. It would be a really clean look. But we're going to weld it with the welder. Probably just drill some holes. I do have a hole punch somewhere around here, but after all the moving, who knows where that ended up. Split this at 14 from 28. All right, into the sheet metal brake. I love being out on the desert. I lost 5 pounds. Hopefully I can keep that off. Watching my videos, especially the past year, I'm just fat. It's really frustrating. I know, 54 years old, only 55. I don't exercise, drink too much beer, etc. Definitely not the fashion plate I was 20 years ago when all this adventure started. 90 degrees. I don't mean the temperature, I mean the angle of the dangle. It's about 83 degrees today. Cool. Might have to raise that flag up higher. One of those, 2 of those. Now we're gonna bend it on the angle to match the curve in this grill. So let's see. I'll get the thing set up, put this in the vise. Where's that tool? Down there. One of these days, I tell you, I'm gonna set up this workshop. Yeah! I've been working like a gypsy for years. I'm so used to it. Someday, I was watching some other YouTubes. Some of these guys have got their shops dialed in. That guy from Make It Custom, doing that Zephyr project. People told me to watch that, and that dude is next level. Like, you can compliment me on my artwork, etc., but when it comes to fabrication, let's hold off on all that praise. There's people like him way more developed than what I'm doing. I can fabricate, but there's folks out there doing next level stuff. All right, got the shrinker, and you can clearly see, well, how about that? These ain't the same shape. Let's put that in the shrink, see what we could do. We've covered this a lot. If you don't know what a shrinker is, you can do your research, but in short, there's these little fingers in here, and they pull the metal together when you pull the lever. That's the stretching die. Notice how it stretched it? There's another tool right over there. I bet that's a shrinker. You know how I know it's a shrinker? Because it says shrinker right on it. We went through this with another project. The caddy whacked. I needed a shrinker and I needed a stretcher, and I changed out those teeth. Unfortunately, this one isn't labeled. This tool says it right on the front plate. Sometimes it helps to read. But because I stretched that, all is not lost, because all I have to do is put in the shrinker. It'll go right back and reverse. As I was saying, there's a lot more talented fabricators out there. Yeah. A little curve action on there. Pretty close. Let's hold it up. That, so it looks like you can pull it in right there. Put that right there. Give it a little what for. And yeah, I like that. Maybe one more right there. So you see where I'm going with this? These are going to rise up inside that grill shell. thusly placing this lower. Let's give this one a shot. I have a whole bunch of self-tapping screws that were donated. Thank you so much. So I'm going to just self-tap screw it in place for a moment. And I think we're going to take the grill shell off to do those inner panels that I mentioned. All right, cool. We got that, looks good. We got that looks good. We can tack those. We'll cut off the excess. All right. Let's cut this out of some steel. All right, got this 18 gauge slice. We got that. Let's set this. So I think I'm going to try to strengthen this up a little bit. The reason being, if I just leave it as this thickness, you know, the steel's gonna have the opportunity to do that. So I'm gonna leave a little bit for a hem edge. Put that on the brake in a second. So let's just trace this off of the edge all the way around. Just gonna cut this with a grinder. I don't wanna wrestle it into that shear at the moment. Yeah, this is something I want to mention before we went on vacation. Of course, thank you to everyone who sends in these cutting discs. You know, they are definitely used, but some of them are thicker than others. So I'll show you. It's not that we can't use these. It's just a matter of preference. Some brands cut better than others. So this one is from Home Depot here in the US. Diablo brand. I love these. They are 0.045 inches thick, 1.2 millimeters. They cut awesome. This one, the label is a little bit messed up. This claims to be 0.45 inches as well, but it's definitely thicker. So the issue is, you know, this is good for thicker material. On the sheet metal, these things just rip. So I don't know how else to express that, but see there, it doesn't, even though they say the same on the label, this one's definitely thicker. I love the thinnest disc possible, especially for cutting sheet metal. Just a little talk on that. If you happen to be having trouble using these discs on sheet metal, it may be because they're the thicker version. What it does is it heats up the metal and kind of smears it. I can see it right here in the cut. See, this thing just falls right in. These are very dangerous. So you see how quickly that moved through, whereas that one was bouncing off as I started to cut. Also, I was shaving this morning, had my reading glasses on to, you know, do a check on everything, and I thought I had an ingrown hair, and I haven't really looked in the mirror in 2 weeks, but what I had was a little piece of steel stuck in my lip. It looked like a little blackhead. I don't like picking. I'm like, that's not a hair. And when it comes out, it's a little piece of steel. I don't know how long it was in there, but that's what I'm saying. That's why we have the disclaimer at the beginning of the show. Real life consequences. All right, I mentioned leaving that paper template a little bit off the surface. I'm gonna go put that in the brake. And I mentioned a hem edge. I'm gonna fold this 100%, 180 degrees over. I pulled it all the way as far as the brake will go. I'll just squeeze it. This is 18 gauge. It's heavy. Start it down there. Yep, there it is. All right, see, it makes a nice edge, very strong. All right, so this is where we're at. This piece is gonna go up against that, like so. And it looks like there's gonna be a little issue with these. But I don't see that losing a tremendous amount of air. Just bring this, I'm gonna trim this once more, because these are gonna go on the outside. So now that I got this looking decent here, I'll pull that right to the edge of the aluminum radiator once again, like that. Because I want a little bit of a rubber seal up against all that too. So see, I'm just trimming, rather I'm marking where this hardware is so I can trim it. Yeah, so it's about a 1/4 inch off. All right, so that's gonna go there. And these two are gonna go like this. One there, one there. Turn it around so we can all see. All right. Feeling me on that? Let me see if I have that hole puncher. That'd be pretty cool. I think I know where it is. All right. This thing is old as the hills. Came from my old job in New York City. It's a Whitney punch. Patented in June 24th, 1918. I don't think this is from 1918, but pretty much there's a pin in there. This has got a hole through it. Punches metal. Just like that. Looks like I'm gonna punch the this flange here. I don't know. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, but let's just see what this does. Punches a hole. I could drill this, but when I was packing up to go to the desert, I remembered seeing this thing deep in the bottom of one of them boxes. What we're gonna do is weld through these punch holes. Make sense? We used to make these copper flashings on these flat roofs on the big buildings in New York City, Rockefeller Center particularly. So the roof layer would be here, then there's a piece of flashing copper that would go laminated in the roof and up the wall, and then we would hole punch, I mean seemingly miles of this stuff, plastic anchor in, and then there'd be like another detail that just capped it, another piece of flashing. Those would get punched, anchored, caulked. Did that for a number of years. When I left the company, some of the tools came with me. Beverly shear, number of hammers, number of other forming tools. Hey, I was an aspiring craftsman. I had to do what I had to do. All right, cool. I'm gonna tack this first, turn that fan off, then we'll flip it over, clamp it, weld through those holes. What's that called? Where after a certain period of time, you can't be tried for a crime. I think that time has passed for hole punch theft. That's why I could talk about it. All right, yesterday we were welding 1/8 inch steel. Today we're welding 18 gauge, so let's drop this wire speed and amperage down considerably. I never said I was a saint or a role model. Just the guy trying to build a car, doing what I gotta do to get by. I think it's time for a new pair of gloves after going out to the desert. And then these old things, I'm gonna up it a little bit. All right, so, you know, as I mentioned, a consummate professional might go ahead and test that welder on a piece of scrap, but not this guy. I'm gonna see if I burn through. No, that setting's good. Setting's good, but I can't see a thing. Where's my glasses? All right, so we got that. Let me stick one right to that plate. Get a clamp and start working that part. I got 2 clamps, that way it can sit evenly on both sides. We'll do 2 welds at a time. Cool. See what I'm saying? Probably take that cutting disc, and what I did here was overlap the bottom. Not too crazy about that, so I'm gonna slice it. You're not gonna see any of this, but I'm gonna see it. Cool. You know, there's that one thing, having a conscience. And if I know it's in there, I'm just going to be frustrated. Just take that out. Come on now, screwdriver. Come on. Giving me stress. There we go. All right, get a little hammer, knock that back into shape. So, as I was saying, only you are your worst critic. Right? Nice and clean. All right, so, as I was saying, I'm gonna put this handle up, put this in, do a little squeeze on this. So what I'm gonna do here is get some traction on it. Get that pushed in like that. You'll see why I brought 2 clamps. It's gonna make its own little table like so. Right, we got our holes. We're gonna weld right through. Call it a plug weld. And where I cut that piece right here, I'm just gonna weld that solid. Right in the punch holes. Fill that up. Looks good. You can put this together any number of ways. Just trying to make an interesting video for y'all. Another piece of metal in my finger. Feel that one. So this is what you get. Little tray. You're looking down on it. Just looks nice and clean. So let's put this in the car. We're gonna have to trim around that hardware stuff. So let that cool off for a second. Grab some gloves. I'm gonna return this hole punch from whence it came so I can remember to use it again. All right, set this into position. Take that cap off for a sec. Yeah, so you can see that this is in the way and this is in the way. Firstly, so let's sneak this under. I have to get a magnet. This is cool. Jamie got me these little cell phone mounts for filming, but it's going to work perfect for this. Basically just magnetize the cell phone camera onto anything, including this. All right, cool. So that's going to sit there, dead center. So this is in the way here, and this is in the way here, and it's as thick as that. So you're going to want to drop that cut down 1 1/8. This is what I'm describing right here. Coming down 1 1/8 to here, 1 1/8 to there, 1 1/8 to there. So I'm going to cut this out with the thin cutting disc I like so much. I'm going to knock off these ends, I think. Well, you know, maybe I'll just fit it up first, in case we need some of that. Take a look at that. Oh yeah, totally cool. I like it. Yeah. Okay, so this is what I was describing here. I think I'm going to take this and just come from right here and just bring it back like that. And we're going to attach it. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So this will prevent the air from coming in the grill and going up over. That's a good sign. So let me, yeah, a little rubber edge on that will work out great. I may have to trim this for the cap. We'll do that later. I just want to get this mounted. Looks like we're going to have to cut that off a little bit, but I think I'm going to go ahead and get some screws in this first, and then we'll trim it. I was just thinking, this is something I'd like to share with you about Burning Man. So this was one of my toolbox totes. And in all the years I've been to Burning Man, this is the one thing that does not change. Everything ends up like this, because it is just chaos out there, and the weather is ridiculous. All this mud, all the dust. Look at my air tool. It's seized up. Might come back. Everything turns to this. Everything. It's always an adventure. What I'm getting at is there's a bit to put the screws in somewhere in here. Extra trailer hitch. You gotta have your stuff. Show me the person with a toolkit that stays tidy. I wanna know them. Yeah, everything looks like this. Trying to put a couple screws in. So one of the things I end up doing at Burning Man is, you start to get your core group of things, like the valve to fill a tire valve, a tape measure, these little bits. You start to create multiple stash spots. So I had in the door pocket of my truck, I had a whole kit of essentials. That way if the wind is howling and all heck is breaking loose, you always got a little safe zone where you can go and get the essentials. So yeah, let's see how many times I could drop this screw on the ground while I attempt to put this into place. All right, first try, here we go. Nice. Try number 2. We're doing a left-handed. This is going to be exciting. I can feel pressure already. No stress, Ian. Left hand, you got it. Yes. All right, cool. I think 4 of these will do for now. This thing's starting to fall a little bit. Oh, there it goes. Just raised up. That's the key, I know it. A nice sharp new screw and not a lot of pressure. Cool. All right, so that's that. I mentioned we're going to take this grill off for the inner ones, but I don't know if we're going to do that this episode. Yeah, I'm happy with this progress. Again, the idea is the air comes in, it has to go through the radiator. I'm going to take this off now. All right. Put this in a very safe place. Oh, let me cover this. So yeah, this is what we accomplished. That little shelf, right? Air's coming in only through the radiator. All right, so the second part of the equation is going to happen here because we don't want the air coming around. So this has a nice edge right here. So I think tomorrow we're going to build a sheet metal wall here across the bottom. Maybe we'll come down really low and come up. So yeah, top is capped. These are next. Looking good, little by little. It's Saturday. I'm not trying to overamp it. We just came back from vacation. More air ducting tomorrow.